What's up, YouTube? Murphy Firearms Training here. Going to show you how to disassemble and reassemble a Ruger Mark III pistol. This is a Ruger Mark III 2245. So it is styled to be like a 1911, takes 1911 style grips. Does have the upper and lower rail on it, but any Mark III will follow this procedure pretty much. The big difference here is this one has a magazine disconnect. That means you cannot pull the trigger unless you have a magazine in the gun, and you have to pull the trigger on this gun to reassemble it and to disassemble it. So we're starting with an unloaded gun. Okay, make sure everybody sees that it is unloaded. I do have the magazine handy. We are going to need that. So when you bring this gun home from the range, it's going to be pretty much in this condition, which is an empty gun. Hopefully, if you've done things right, you don't bring a loaded gun home. A 22 is not a self-protection pistol. So we've got this gun unloaded. We've brought it home, and we've left it in that cocked position because it ran out of ammo. We dropped the slide, and it's in that cocked position. So with the magazine in the gun and the gun pointed in a safe direction, you're going to have to pull the trigger. Okay? Nice loud click. We're going to take that magazine out. We're going to set it aside. We need that later. Okay? Now, first step to disassembling a Mark III is to remove this spring assembly. And to do that, you're going to lift up on this center piece right here. Okay? And you can get under that with a pick or a paper clip. I just use my thumbnail. Before I do that, I want to mention you have to have the magazine out or this will not. You'll pull and pull and pull. You'll break a fingernail off trying. Okay? This will not pull out if the magazine's in the gun. So you have to take the magazine out, pull this out, you rotate this out. There's a rod that pokes all the way through the top of the pistol. We're going to pull this clean out of the gun. The way to do that is just to grab it with a couple of fingers and work it back and forth, side to side. And I'll use the magwell for leverage and pull down, okay? And out she comes, okay? So, there's our spring housing. Sometimes comes out quite violently. Now you will remove your bolt, okay? Every now and then, and put it back in, every now and then you'll pull that out, and if you jostle a gun like I did, you'll pull and it'll stop about right here and it will not come out, okay? If that happens, put the magazine in, pull the trigger. Okay, if you put the magazine in, pull the trigger, that makes the hammer move freely in here, and this will slide right out. So if it does not slide right out, if your bolt doesn't slide right out, you need to put a magazine in and pull the trigger. If you have one without a magazine disconnect, you can just pull the trigger. Okay? Cool. So that's 2/3 of the way disassembled. The last step is to get the upper off of the lower, to get the barrel off of the frame. And the way to do that is really, really simple. This guy sticks out just a hair in the back. And I just put it up against the bench, and I give it a quick rap, and you'll hear it pop, and they just fall apart. Okay, and you can use a mallet for that. I just use my hands. I don't have a need for a hammer on a gun. So now this is disassembled. You clean your lower, however you want to clean it. You clean your upper, right? Your chamber area here. Your chamber area. All of your bolt travel area, down your barrel. Clean your gun. Now, before we start reassembly, this is your hammer, this little silver piece here. And you see it's in the back position. This is cocked, okay? People will call this the down position or the cocked position, okay? And we will also need it in the up. So we have to put in a magazine, pull the trigger, and we can put it in the up, right? So that's the up or the fired position, okay? So up or fired position, okay? I'm going to put it back down because I need to start with it down, okay? In the cocked or the down position. And I'll use both of those words. Okay, so you've cleaned your gun. You're ready to reassemble. Disassembly is easy. Reassembly is where the trick is, okay? So we've got our hammer in the down or the fired position. The down or the cocked position. And we're going to put our upper back on. So you've got to line this square right here with this square right here. And they line up just like so. And then you have to push until that's clicked in. Okay? And what I do on my gun is I put it against my hand. Okay, so I'm sitting there off camera like this. Or I'll put it on the bench and I'll push down. And you want to make sure that this is well seated. Some people will give the muzzle a rap with a hammer. I am not going to hit my muzzle with a hammer. Although on the 2245, you do have a muzzle protector. You've got this thread protector on here. It's a threaded barrel. So this is actually protecting your crown. So if you hit this with a hammer, you're not going to deform your crown. This needs to stick past the plastic frame just a tiny amount, enough that you can feel it. You may not even be able to see it on the camera, but you can feel it. It sticks past the lower just a hair. That's how you know you're seated, okay? Your hammer has to be in the down position. So I'm going to tilt this up to the camera here. And you're looking in there for that big silver block. And it's right there and it's down. Okay, it's out of the way. You can see clear through here, okay? That has to be down for your bolt to go in. So you line your bolt up and you send your bolt in, okay? And if you get to here and your bolt hits, your magazine, your slide stop is up. Push that down, okay? Sometimes this will be down. It'll just spring down on its own when you had the magazine in, and this will slide right in. But if you get about halfway and you hit a stop, there's your issue. So that's trick number one. Hammer down, okay? Down position or cocked position. This has to be down. Bolt slides in. Cool. Now, to get this in, the hammer has to be in the up or the fired position. So to do that, I have to put the magazine in, okay? I'm going to turn the gun, and there's the back of the hammer right there, that big silver block. I'm going to pull the trigger, and I'm going to just take my pencil or some wooden rod, a Q-tip, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm going to push that guy all the way forward, okay? So push that hammer all the way into the up or the fired position, okay? So push that forward. Now, this will go in easy peasy, okay? So we line this up, okay, straight up and down. And I'll show you the top view, right? This has got to hop over this little spring-loaded piece on your slide. I just broke my pencil, okay? And you're just going to push, wiggle and push. And when it pops out the top, you're good, okay? So you're almost done. You cannot just snap this shut and call it done. Okay, so let me show you this. Well, if it'll stay out of my way, I'll show you this. Okay, there's a little black rod in here. I'm going to move it with my pencil. See if you see that little black rod that I'm moving with my pencil. Okay, they call that the strut in the owner's manual. Okay, that little black rod has got to fall into the divot right here on the back of this mainspring housing. And the way I have found to do that is point the gun straight up. Okay, point the gun straight up and close this. And when I do that, it always catches. And you'll know because it'll stop right here. And when you push, you'll have, oh, and you can't close this with the mag in the gun. So take the mag out. But when you get to right here, it'll be springy. Okay? If you push this all the way into the grip and it doesn't spring back, gun will not function. There has to be spring tension when you get this close to closed. Okay, so when you get it here, check for spring tension. You know your strut's in the right spot. Close it. You have reassembled a Ruger Mark III. It's not that hard. Check. Make sure your bolt or your slide, whatever you want to call that guy, functions. Dry fire. Make sure it actually fires. Make sure it locks open. Okay? Okay. It's a fully functional pistol. That's how you do it. It's not that hard. People make these guns seem like they're really difficult. They are not. When the Ruger Mark IVs came out, people traded these in droves. So Ruger Mark IV was sitting next to this in the counter, brand new. The brand new Ruger Mark IV was running like $479. This, with a red dot, was $319. Okay? And it was used. But what a good deal to come with the red dot for $319. And the reason is nobody was buying it because everybody wanted the single button takedown Ruger Mark IVs. But it's not that hard. It's not that difficult to do. You saw the only tool I had was a pencil for pointing. You could have a rubber mallet, and you could have something like a little pick to get behind this strut here, okay? The big thing is to know when to take the magazine out, okay? And when to put the magazine in. You have to have the mag in to pull the trigger, and you have to pull the trigger a couple times to operate the hammer. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. I hope if you own a Mark III that you take it apart, you clean it, you put it back together. It's not that difficult. Just pay attention to where your hammer is. Take your time. I clean this one usually once a year. It is a pain to take apart, so I clean it about once a year. With 22 ammo today, all of the bullets are lubricated, so you're not going to lead your bore. They're not that dirty. I do shoot it a fair amount, and basically my rule is about once a year I'll clean it, or if it starts to give me trouble. So if it starts to jam, I will clean it. But knock on wood, so far all I've had to do is about once a year. I'll pull it out and I'll clean it. Now I do wipe it down after I shoot. I always wipe my guns down because your salt in your hands could leave some residue and cause rust spots. I've actually seen a fingerprint on a gun where someone touched it and then left it in the safe, didn't wipe it off. So I'm a little paranoid about that. But like I said, follow a few easy steps and you get what you now know is a fully functioning Ruger Mark III pistol. A lot of fun to shoot. Great guns, very reliable, and not that hard to take apart and clean. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. Like and subscribe. Appreciate your support.